us to take 55. And they, start in hearing and reapprove. And it goes from Maryville, goes to Crown Point, goes down to Lowell, right? And into Jasper, whatever it is, right? That's how it goes. Because you're not amenable to helping us. But we'll talk, Mayor.
Absolutely.
Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for your attendance this morning. Start with Mr. Hollenbeck. Do we have any new appointments to the commission?
We do not.
Okay. Moving on to roll call. Ms. Euclid, would you please take the roll?
Is that my chance to get my name in the minutes?
That's exactly what that was, yeah.
Okay, I will take attendance. Kyle Allen.
Present.
Dwayne Arndt. Jeanette Bass. Here. Janet Beck. Here. Jeff Benson. Jim Biggs.
Here.
Kevin Brightsky.
Here.
Charlie Brown. Robert Carnahan.
Here.
Bill Carroll.
Here.
Anthony Copeland. Josh Wayne Denham. Here. Tom Dermody.
Present.
John Nowinski. Dinah Dumbrus.
Present.
Denise Ebert.
Here.
Bill Emerson.
Here.
Robert Forster.
Here.
Richard Hardaway.
Here.
Tony Hendricks. Jack Geralds. Mike Jessen. Justin Peel.
Here.
Scott Keenan. Andrew Kiris. Robert LeMay. Sue Lynch.
Here.
Sheila Matias.
Present.
Tom McDermott. Lori Mercer.
Here.
Wendy Miss.
Present.
Mike Mollenhauer. Edward Morales.
Here.
Matt Murphy. Dwayne Ferry. David Peeler. Jim Fressel. Jerome Prince. Rick Reifa. Tom Schmidt.
Here.
Angie Scott. Brian Snedford. Steve Spivard. Greg Stinson.
Here.
Gerald Sweats. Sharon Zwido.
Here.
Mary Tanis.
Here.
Jim Tunn.
Present.
George Tuffle.
Present.
John Yelkich. We have 26 of the full commission, but we do have 7 of the executive board, so we have a quorum of the executive board.
Quorum of the executive board, but we do not have a quorum of the full commission at this time. The executive board can go ahead and proceed with the approval of the minutes after. I'm reliably informed we have no public comments, so we'll go ahead and skip over that. Moving on to the minutes, is there a motion from a member of the executive board to approve the minutes?
So
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing half it too fast for me. Who made the motion?
I did, but
Greg.
Sue did as well, so. Give it to Sue.
Okay.
Give it to Sue. I had a couple, I'm already in the record for the finance and personnel meeting.
It's hard to watch so many people on
I really give you a mood.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Minutes are approved. Moving on to the report of the chair. My report this morning for you is that the committee assignments are available. They were out front. Please pick up a copy. Pretty much everybody's in the same position as they were last year, pending a committee restructuring that we're looking into. If you're someone who's new to NERC in the last couple months, you absorbed the committee assignments of your predecessor. If you have issues with that, let me know. Yeah, kind of. Moving on to the report of the executive director, Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, two things on the agenda here. I'm actually going to take the liberty of flipping those around and move to the Economic Development District report first. Just by way of some very fast background, we received the Economic Development District designation just in time for the CARES Act, prior to the CARES Act, prior to COVID. And so that enabled us to receive funds for certain activities, one of which was the creation of an economic resiliency and recovery plan for the region, which is, to condense it down to its meat, I guess, is how do we recover out of this pandemic economically well, but then how do we set ourselves up in the region to be more resilient for future pandemics or future natural disasters, anything else that would be a disruption, along the lines of what we just experienced. So towards that end, we used those funds to bring on TIP strategies. Some of you that were involved in Ignite the Region, that was spearheaded by the Northwest Indiana Forum, may have met the folks from TIP Strategies out of Austin already, but they have been hot and heavy into this. We're about midway through the plan. And so I thought it would be a good idea to have them give a very brief update about where they are at and the status of that effort. I'll just note that Mayor Snedecourt has arrived, so we do have a quorum of the full commission. Thank you, Mayor. So we've got Luke Sheffield and Jeff Marcel on, if this works well, and I hope you guys can hear me okay. Are you good?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. So I'm going to turn it over to.
This meeting is being recorded.
There you go. And there's the familiar Zoom voice that we've all come to know and love. So I'm going to turn this over to Jeff and Luke to give you just a quick summation status of where we are with that effort and some resources that may be available to you in the process. So it's all yours, guys.
Super. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Jeff Marcel, I'm a senior partner with TIP Strategies, and joined by Luke Sheffield, who's an associate consultant with our team. Excited to have an opportunity. Thank you for allowing us a little time on your agenda today. Before I start, though, I did want to just share with you, we as a consulting firm get a chance to work with planning organizations, with councils of government, community organizations all around the country. And I just want to take a moment to thank the team at NERC. They have been outstanding partners through this work. As you all know, they are exceptional leaders in the community, but I just want to recognize and thank them for their hard work. I and Dinner just couldn't ask for better partners, so thank you. Let me share with you what we want to cover with you in our brief presentation. I first, for those of you that don't know who we are, I want to give you a quick introduction to who TIP Strategies is. I'll give you a high-level overview of the plan and the planning work that we have underway. If any of you have questions about the information that we shared with you today, if you want to have a longer conversation or share some other additional information with us, we would welcome, we're all ears, we would welcome a conversation or an email exchange, so please note that. I'm then going to ask Luke to step in and share with you an update about where we are with the planning process and the next steps. So, that's what we're going to get accomplished in the next few minutes. Just by way of quick introduction, TIP Strategies is the nationally recognized economic development, workforce development, strategic planning firm. We're based out of Austin, Texas. That's where Luke is today. But we have offices all over the country. I have office out in the Seattle, Washington area. We have folks in Michigan and Denver and Washington, D.C. and Boston, Massachusetts as well. All we do as a firm is work with communities to help them think through challenges to growing their local economy or addressing workforce challenges that they might have. And I think our firm is best recognized for the prioritization that we place on implementation. So we spend a lot of time in the planning process thinking through how plans and recommendations get implemented. The firm itself is 26 years old. We have worked in over 350 communities around the country. We work with cities, counties, regions, and states. Just to give you a sense about some of the projects that we currently have underway, we were just awarded a project to work with the city of San Antonio on an economic development project for them. Just announced just yesterday, we were awarded a project in Jacksonville, Florida to work with their team to help develop an economic development strategic plan. We're working in Anchorage, Alaska, and Santa Barbara. Just finished the strategic plan for the Indianapolis region, so we get a chance to work all over the country. And as Ty said, we were the firm that helped facilitate the Ignite the Region plan. And that was a fantastic experience, getting to know the Northwest Indiana community and the leadership there. But we've also done several projects in the state of Indiana, including work in projects in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Indianapolis. And this is the project team that we have underway. As I said, I'm a senior partner with the firm. Principal on this project, Alex Cook, is a senior vice president with our firm, and Alex has led the effort with Ignite the Region as well. Mishka Parkins is a consultant with our team on the project. Mishka actually, prior to joining CIP, was with the International Economic Development Council and had a chance to work with communities around the country. And then Luke has been, Luke is our honorary Hoosier. Luke has worked in the last year or so on, I think, what is it, Luke, 5 different projects? 3 years. 3 years. So he's getting to know the state very, very well. So that's the planning team that you may have interacted with us recently. But let me give you a high-level overview of the project. This is the goal that we have, and as Ty said, this is really centered on economic recovery and resiliency. This is the project goal that we have. And this is not like Ignite the Region exactly. Ignite the Region was really looking holistically at the economy as a whole and addressing challenges and opportunities there. This is really narrowly focused on thinking through what's taken place and looking at the data related to the pandemic and the impact of the economy, but then looking at what needs to be done to help industry recover, help the community recover from that experience, but also prepare for future high impact events. And so that's what we've been doing. I did want to share this with you. These are the members of the steering committee, and I'm going to leave this up for just a moment. We have so many members that we can't go through them in detail, but I did want to share with you just how pleased we are and how much work our steering committee members are putting into this project. You all probably know these folks quite well, but I would ask you, if you happen to run into one of the steering committee members, please thank them for the work that they're doing on behalf of the community for this project. They have been outstanding to work with. We're quite fortunate to collaborate with them. This is the scope of work that we have for the project. You can see multiple tasks under each of our 3 phases. I won't go through each one of these tasks, but I will, in broad strokes, share with you, we use a 3-phase planning model: the discovery, opportunity, and implementation. And during this discovery phase, we've really been honing in on data and looking at as much statistical information as we possibly can, and to understand what's taken place in the pandemic and what's happened in the economy overall. This opportunity phase is where we've led a lot of stakeholder input sessions. Luke will tell you a little bit more about that, but we've had one-on-one interviews. We've done a whole series of roundtables to listen and learn from leaders in the Northwest Indiana area to understand what they've experienced over the last few years. And then we're starting to identify strategies that will resonate with the challenges and opportunities we've identified. The implementation phase is that phase where we'll be spending time with community leaders to talk about who should be doing what kind of recommendations will they be taking on that have been identified, and how do they go about carrying those out. So those are the 3 phases. This is the scope of work that we've had in terms of our timeline. We started back in early November. We'll conclude in July. There are a lot of moving parts in this project. We completed a lot of work, but I'll also share we've got a lot of work in front of us as well. We're making excellent progress and feel very confident about where we are in the project. So, as I said, if you ever have a question about the scope of work or the work that we have underway, or want to add additional information to it, we're all ears and would welcome that. I know Dinnery and I have our direct contact information. But let me now turn it over to Luke to share with you the work that's been going on.
Thanks so much, Jeff, and it's great to be here with you all today. I want to echo Jeff's comments, just thanking NERC team for their involvement on this project. They've been a great client. We've worked with them very closely throughout this whole process. So wanted to just give you all an idea of what we've done so far and then where we're headed. So as Jeff mentioned, we've been right in the heart of doing all this stakeholder engagement to gather qualitative information that'll better inform the eventual creation of the plan. So this is just a rundown of all the various groups we've spoken to. These roundtables varied in size, from a few people up to 15 or 20 people. But we really feel like we've cut some broad strokes across the community. We really gotten a great idea about the economic situation, both during and immediately after the pandemic, as well as its opportunities for future resilience. You'll see there at the bottom of the bolded ones that we still have left to do. We'll actually be meeting with key employers in a very large roundtable later today. We also, our research team put together something we call the Economic Explorer, which is a compilation of economic quantitative data gathered from a variety of sources: the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. Census, the American Community Survey, a proprietary real estate data tool called NZ. So lots of different data sources that we packaged and put together into this very easy, user-friendly platform that we did share and delivered in ERC. And if you're curious, please get in touch with Ty or myself, and we will make sure you get the link to this full workbook. I'm not going to go through it all in the interest of time, but you'll see we have all kinds of demographic data, workforce data, industry and occupation, housing, and even commuting. So there's all kinds of data in there, and you're welcome to play around with it at your leisure. We also did something that we called an employer survey. So thanks again to NERC and also to the Northwest Indiana Forum, we were able to put together, in conjunction with our research team, a survey, an online survey that we distributed and got over 100 responses from key business leaders in the region. So we asked them a variety of questions. I believe it was 18 questions, partially about just getting a sense of who they are, their demographics, whether they have hiring responsibilities. But then towards the end, we transitioned to questions like this, which are about the opportunities and challenges facing the region when it comes to resilience. So this was a question about what are the most important issues when it comes to recovering from the pandemic. You'll see workforce was way at the top, but also the health and safety issue, obviously, and then also collaboration. We got some really interesting insights from this survey. Another question I just wanted to show you all this word cloud was, how would you describe the region today and 10 years from now? And it's really interesting to see the variety of responses that these business owners came up with. You'll see certain ones like growing come up twice, but you also, it's important to take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, we do want to appreciate that folks were honest and open about the challenges they face. Things like dysfunction. So we wanted to really get a clear idea of where we're at so that we can get a better vision for where we're going. So that's all the stuff that we have done up to this point. As Ty mentioned, we're about midway through the project. We're wrapping up that stakeholder engagement. And then our next steps really are, we're in the heart of this right now. We're going to begin drafting the plan. We're going to formulate it around some guiding principles. We're going to have high-level goals that correspond to various categories that we think are most impactful to recovery and resilience. And then within those goals, we'll have very tactical, specific strategies and actions. And then what we do is we take those strategies and actions and translate them into something we call an implementation report. Meaning we identify the organizations that are responsible. It could be NERC, could be the city, could be the county, could be the forum, all these kind of responsible organizations that are going to own parts of this plan, go into what we call the implementation. Then we've already went over the timeline with you, but in a couple months we'll be doing the final presentation and implementation workshop. And then it's the rollout. It's time to get moving. It's time to take what we've given you and implement it in the region and be more prosperous. So at this time, I know we probably don't have a whole lot of time, Ty, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to speak up. But I do know also this presentation was recorded, so it should be available for later.
Great. Thank you, Luke and Jeff. Anybody have any questions while they're on the line? Going once, going twice. Here's Luke live and in person. Thank you guys very much. Really appreciate that update and all the work that you're doing. And just to underscore something that Luke and Jeff said, I think the outcome of this is not only absolutely implementable steps to make this region more resilient, but there's also a whole host of data that they've collected that is available to you that you can use in your own communities as a result of this as well. So I've been very excited about this process, and they've been moving along at a good clip, and we'll have a really good product come July, and you'll be part of the rollout and the whole bit. So thank you guys for taking the time this morning. Really glad to have you on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you both. Very good. Now if I can move back up, speaking of persevering through difficulties, we have our Perfect Attendance Awards that we haven't done for 2 years because of COVID, and I'm not making this up. This literally is backed by popular demand. When people of your own ilk asked for these to make sure that these got distributed, so you have no one to blame but yourselves.
So I'm going to be on that list for people.
Yeah, right, presumably. So I'm going to ask Candy if you can help me with this. This will be great. The awkward thing with this moment is always when we give out Perfect Attendance Awards and the person that receives them is not actually that happens to be the case, but I don't know whether to name them, but I'm going to go ahead and name them because people have good excuses and whatnot. And I also always feel it necessary to remind everyone that there should be no shame here, because really, if you're not on the executive board, the only real expectation is for you to be at the 4 meetings, the quarterly meetings per year. So what these recognize is actually people that were at every single meeting that we held throughout the year. As you know, we default to an executive board sometimes when we don't have a quorum. The executive board is basically on all the time. But everybody who's not on the executive board, really the expectation is 4 times a year, although you are always welcome to be here at the table, and always glad to have you, and it adds to the discussion, so I would encourage you to be. So I'll go ahead and name him because he deserves a recognition, and he had a good reason today. But Jeff Benson, every meeting. By the way, this is both for 20 and 21 last year. Kevin Brightsky, where did he end up? Thank you. Both 20 and 21. Congratulations. Bob Carnahan in 2020. Now Senator Griffin in 2020. We will make sure that you get this. Richard Hardaway, about 20 and 21. And Justin Keel, 20 and 21. And Wendy Miss for 20 and 21. Thanks for getting your exercise, Candy. That helps. And Tom Schmidt for 20 and 21 as well. This one's easy for Candy. Greg Stinson for 20 and 21. His son for 2021. And George Topol for 20 and 21. So again, thank you all very, very much for being here today, and thank you for all your persevering in what was a difficult year for everyone. So with that, that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Moving on to the report of the Environmental Management Policy Committee. Mr. Emerson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for giving us a little more room on the agenda today. We have some things we want to go through from the NPC. We met on April 7th. It was a great meeting. I want to make anyone feel bad if you didn't make it, but it was a great meeting. If you have any environmental interest, please come out. Our next meeting is August 4th. And I mentioned last meeting that the IDEM through the EPA's we're updating the MS4 program throughout the state. And at that time we hadn't had our official letters from IDEM for the new permit. So we do now. And so I'd also thank the chairman for allowing a short presentation on kind of an overview of the new municipal stormwater permit requirements. Reggie Forthall, if you could come up. Reggie's the chairwoman of the Indiana MS4 partnership, and kind of a wealth of knowledge on the subject. There's a handout out front as well with this information. But Reggie, go ahead.
Morning. Good morning to old friends and new friends. It's good to be back. Indiana historically has permitted federal permits under permit by rule. that has been dissolved. We now permit, or they now permit, under general administrative permits. And what this means is that it allows the regulatory agency to go back in and change the permits more often and make them meet your needs. When you received your letter from IDEM, it's a letter of intent that you have to file with them by July the 5th. What this means is that you intend to comply with the new permit. On December 18th, permit by rule ended. On December 18th, general administrative permits began. Permits go to the permit operator. The permit operator is the highest elected official in your community, whether it's the mayor, town council president, conservancy district board director, and university chancellor. So that's who will be getting those letters, who has already gotten those letters. There are 183 permittees in the state of Indiana. However, last Thursday, IDEM mailed out 52 new letters to MS4s. Some of them are in Northwest Indiana. Receiving this new letter allows you the opportunity to have some time to figure out what it is you're going to do to comply with the permit. The new permit is extensive, has a lot of added things for municipalities to do. So what the Indiana MS4 partnership does, it's something that I started back when I was the director for MS4 at IDEM. It brings together all of the municipalities and all the people that are working on stormwater at that municipality to understand what's required of them, what is new requirements, and it allows them to interact with each other. This year, the MS4 annual meeting is May the 10th in Indianapolis at the Marriott East. And we have also added now on Monday what we call New Permittees Workshop. This is a workshop for those of you that have never had a permit before and for those that have new MS4 coordinators before. Our goal is to make sure you have all the tools and all the education you need to successfully put this permit into place. And I'm hoping that all of you will do that. If you have any needs or issues, you can always ask Bill. I've had the opportunity and the good fortune to work with a lot of you and to work with your MS4 coordinators. And you have just an amazing group of people working for you. Keep in mind that these MS4 coordinators are going to have a lot more work to do and that they need to have a little help, a little staff help. There's ways that you can do this. It's cost effective. Don't get nervous about money. And you can hopefully get your program off the ground and able to move forward. I just would like to say IDEM is also doing permit audits. Okay, that's coming out to see if you are in compliance. Thought it was awful strange that they were doing audits at the same time they were issuing NOIs, but oh well. And so the town of Porter had an audit last Thursday. And it is absolutely fun to announce they passed with flying colors. And the audit was very successful, and they're doing a great job in the town of Porter. So if you get a notice from them that they're going to audit you, don't get too nervous. It won't be that bad. But if you have any questions about the permit or needing help, particularly if you're a new contact Bill, we have an organization up here called Niceway. This was begun probably, probably 2015. It was a group, the city of Hobart, the town of Maryville, the city of Chesterton, those MS4 coordinators started putting this together. And what it is all the municipalities in Lake Porter and LaPorte County meet once a month to talk about what they're doing as far as MS4. So in the new permit, it's required that your MS4 coordinators have 10 to 12 hours of continuing education. That can be daunting when they have other jobs to do. So what we're going to do is take the Niceway meeting that meets once a month, design it so that it provides the educational hours for your staff, and they're not having to run out and try to find something else to get their educational credits. So Niceway is Lake Porter and LaPorte County MS4s. There are 34 of them, and I have a feeling there's going to be a few more. And So if you got your letter, supposedly if you're new, you should have had it by now. It was mailed last Thursday. In which case, if you want me to help answer any questions, or Bill, just feel free to do that. I really appreciate the opportunity to address you because this is a regional issue. And as we look at environmental long-term planning, you're looking at sustainability. We're looking at environmental sustainability too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for to do that. And yeah, any questions, reach out to me, or Kathy is also a great resource as well here at NERC. And the next item on our agenda, 8.2, page 7 of your packet, this is resolution 22-07 regarding the regional inventory of community greenhouse gas emissions, making that the regional baseline from the 2017 numbers. So a little quick background for those of you who may not have been involved. Oh, come on up, Kathy. I want you to say something too. Just kudos to NERC, Kathy, the whole staff for putting this together. I mean, 13 different communities, I think 3 counties, a lot of different moving parts, working with the IU Resiliency Program. Great job putting this all together in the middle of a pandemic, no less. So thank you very much for doing this. We're going to ask that you adopt this resolution, making that the baseline for our greenhouse gas inventory for the region. Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, you all have in your packets the executive summary of the greenhouse gas inventory. After the first 11 cities and towns and 3 counties, Portage and Hammond snuck in at the end, so we ended up with 13 cities and towns and all 3 counties. So we want to use this as a baseline against future climate emission planning and reduction, so we're all on the same page. So just generally, our total tons of carbon dioxide equivalent for the region is 49 million metric tons. But 40 million metric tons of that is kind of industry, which is kind of owned nationally, right? Our gasoline is used everywhere from BP and products and steel. So we're going to focus going forward on our baseline as communities, which is 9.8 million metric tons, which comes out to about 13 tons per person, which is the state average is 14.8. So when you take out our big industry, we're not in bad shape compared to the rest of the country or the state. But anyway, so the baseline we want to work against is the 9.8 million metric tons. So that's what we're asking. The resolution is asking you to adopt. In addition, we're going forward with climate action planning. We are establishing a task force. The task force, the first meeting will be a virtual meeting on May 5th from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. And so if any of you want to participate or have your staff participate on behalf of your community, please let me know and we'll get you on the list for that.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from anyone for Kathy or Bill? If there are none, is there a motion to approve resolution 2207? Motion by Jim, second by Tom. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the questions on the adoption of resolution 2207, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to the report of the Finance and Personnel Committee. Mr. Dermody, you have the floor.
The Finance and Personnel Committee met this morning to review the financial reports from February and March of 2022. Also reviewed were bank reconciliations for February and March of 2022 and the claim registers for February and March of 2022. There is one action for consideration today, a request for the approval of amendment to the MOU for NWI revolving loan program. This request comes highly favorable for approval to the commission.
Just as a quick overview of what this is, if you recall, we approved an agreement or a memorandum of understanding with the Porter County Redevelopment Commission for our revolving loan fund program that was also funded from CARES Act funds, just like the plan that we talked about earlier. And that is a region-wide revolving loan fund program for small businesses of Lake Porter and LaPorte County. We've given you flyers to take to your communities to help promote that. Well, the Porter County Redevelopment Commission recognized that a potential barrier to applicants was the application fee and not being able to get that fee back. So they agreed as a body to set aside a pool of $10,000 of their funds to pay for those application fees for applicants. And they started off restricting it to a geographic area along Route 6. But now that they need to expand that opportunity throughout all unincorporated Porter County. So what this simply does is amend that agreement to extend that to all of unincorporated Porter County. So we're very, very thankful for the Porter County Redevelopment Commission for wanting to help make this program successful and providing that extra incentive for their residents to do so. So that's the explanation for the amendment.
This item comes with a favorable recommendation from the Finance and Personnel Committee. Is there a motion to approve amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding with Porter County Redevelopment Commission? Mr. Carnahan, second by Mr. Hardaway. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the questions on the adoption of the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Anything else from Finance and Personnel?
That'll be it.
Okay, moving on to Technical Planning Commission and a report from Ms. Zabrowski.
Thank you. The Technical Planning Committee met on Tuesday, April 5th. And I'll just take a minute to say this has been a great week for Northwest Indiana and the grants that have been received. I think you got the memo about the 11 million of community crossing grants that 17 of our communities were recipient of. National Level Trails got a new funding. There are several other highway fundings that occurred in the last couple of weeks. So we're really blessed to be in this region. The committee heard an update of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is underway with 4 major planning areas under review by consulting firms. These areas include active transportation, land use, freight, and transit. The plan is scheduled to be approved in May of 2023, and Tom Dow is in the back to answer any of your questions. Does anybody have any questions? Our new staff member, does anybody have any questions for Tom?
Where did I get the shirt? This is my after Easter shirt. All the cool kids are wearing pink today.
Real men wear pink.
That's right.
Moving on, since there are no questions, the first action today is for Resolution 2211, fiscal year 2020, 2024, fiscal year 2022, 2026, for the Transportation Improvement Program Amendment 2022-45. I don't see Charles here. Tom, are you going to take this?
I am, because Charles called in sick this week.
That's fine.
Unfortunately.
First, Tom will provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendment, then explain the action. The comment report starts on page 23 of your packet, followed by the resolution.
Thank you, sir. As was just mentioned, we did have a 21-day comment period for this resolution. For this TIP amendment, it began on March 11th and it concluded on April 1st. It was made available for viewing on our website, and we also issued press releases with links that were posted on several social media sites. We had not received any comments from the general public on this proposed amendment. And just to give a little bit of background about what the TIP amendment is, it is an NDOT project for several railroad crossings throughout the region. There are 3 in LaPorte, 3 in Hammond, 2 in Porter, and 1 in Chesterton. And this is for the construction phase for those projects. And altogether, it's approximately $4.9 million in Section 130 funds, which is the highway roadway crossing program, and local funds as well. So we also did not receive any technical comments from the interagency consultation group, and so we're ready to have this item before this group so that we can approve it and then pass it on to NDOT for inclusion in the STIP.
The Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of Resolution 2211.
Great, is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tias, second by Mr. Dunn. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Resolution is adopted. You may proceed.
The final action is for Resolution 2212, fiscal year 2021 to 2022, Unified Planning Work Program Amendment 5B. Mr. Dow will explain this action.
This amendment that we have before you for the Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, is really more of a housekeeping item. We have funds left over from fiscal year 2020 that we want to make sure we're able to spend for the deadline of June 30th. And so this will make those funds available to be spent between now and then. And we're not adding any new activities with this. We're going to be paying for staff salaries out of this, and we're going to be paying for a few of our contract items that are already in the UPWP.
The staff's been ardent to make sure we don't lose any of our monies, that they all stay in the forest anyway. So they stay with this Metropolitan Planning Organization. The resolution can be found on page 28, and the Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of 2212.
Great. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2212?
So moved.
Motion by George and second by Mr. Emerson. Okay, is there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, the questions on the adoption of resolution 2212. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, just as a final comment, one of our members made us aware of the concern that some of the agencies are having with the acronyms that we all tend to use. And I suggest that maybe the agency should rewrite their award-winning book on acronyms. Because when we mention these things like the UPWP and TIP, it's just, we want everybody to be included and understand exactly what we're talking about. And then we have the advent of a lot of new acronyms because of ARPA. Which I'll let you look up.
Last acronyms.
Can I just comment on that, Mr. Bryson? Just so, and thanks for that push for that, because Steve Strains, before he retired, one of the things that he did in his recent times before his retirement was just that, update the list of acronyms and everything. And you're reminding me that we never took the final step of getting it out there for folks, and now we've got even more acronyms since then. So.
NERC got an award from all the metropolitan planning organizations for that very book. It was just a very small book, but it was very helpful, particularly when I came in. That's when it was introduced, and it was very helpful to our new members.
I don't know what's difficult to understand about the NIR, PCs, TIP going in, and IMDs is STIP, right? It makes it simple.
Yeah. The next meeting of Technical Planning Committee will be Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 at 10 a.m. in NERC offices. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to the report from Mr. Deitchley.
Morning, buddy. And being with NDOT, we love acronyms too, trust me. My first few months on the job with NDOT 10 years ago, I was completely lost, so I feel you. I want to echo what Mr. Bresky was mentioning too, the Community Crossings grant. We did that announcement on Tuesday in Muncie with Governor Holcomb. $107.8 million is going to 224 communities across Indiana. So, and as you mentioned too, here in the NERC area, we had 17 entities that got a lot more than $11 million. I'd like to note the ones that got the $1 million maximum were Dyer, East Chicago, Portage, Porter County, St. John, Cherville, Valparaiso, and just under $1 million was Winfield. So a lot of great stuff going on in this area, and we're proud of that. Next call is going to be in July of 2022 as well. So, the last thing I was going to mention was something I did mention last month, but I wanted to reiterate it since we have a larger group. We're going to try something different this year. We're going to put some construction zones on 65 and 94 this year. Something we don't typically do, as you know. This year we are going to do but this year we do have significant work going on 94 and 65. 94, we've got a profiling concrete patching job from Illinois State Line to Pine Avenue. That should get started in the next few weeks. That's going to go through November. We're looking at 4 lanes going to be maintained in each direction during the day, but we will have some lane closures at night. So the best thing you can do to keep updates on that is to watch our social media accounts. We've got lots of updates throughout the construction season on all of our projects. On I-65, we have a concrete pavement restoration project with some bridge deck overlays. That's from US 30 to just north of I-94. The letting's going to be next month, so we're expecting construction to start sometime after that. We can expect 3 lanes of traffic in each direction with a crossover coming during the season. There will be some times where there will be 2 lanes to maintain, but we're hoping to avoid that as much as possible. We will have some ramp closures as well, but nothing more than 2 weeks in duration is the goal. So again, I really encourage folks to look on social media for some updates on that. That project on 65 is a 2-year project, so we're going to be doing some more next year. So that's what I have to report, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Yes, sir.
It's not a question, it's a comment. Herbsey did send out a thing on April 19th listing all the communities that got their community crossing grants.
Excellent. Any other questions for Mr. Deitchley? If there are none, we'll move on to other business. Is there any other business before the commission this morning? If there is none, we'll move on to announcements. Are there any announcements?
It's kind of an announcement, but it's a question for all the other communities. Lake County Solid Waste has limited, we were accepting tires to be recycled at our public works. And it's become a lot more difficult to accept them. They will not take the bigger size tires. So at our Tuesday night council meeting, we are no longer going to offer that for Lake County residents. I don't know if any other communities in Lake County have that. And what about Porter and LaPorte County? Do you have a recycling tire program with?
LaPorte County does with its solid waste district, I believe.
And is there a limit on size and stuff?
Not sure.
I'm not sure they're taking tires.
No, so we do an occasional collection.
But not all the time.
No, very irregular.
My concern now is that we're gonna probably start seeing tires along the roadside. But it is what it is. The program, my superintendent told me that a guy came in, he wanted to give us 4 tires, and now our employees have to go out there to see what they've got. And he tried to put 10 tires in. Some people take advantage of it. Same way with we had 47 recycling locations in Lake County that take recyclables, and people were putting garbage in there. And so that program was eliminated.
Porter County takes tires at our household hazardous waste collection, but not every time.
Right.
So you need to check to make sure that we're collecting.
I
We have
follow,
like 6 collections a year.
I follow Porter County on Facebook, and they send me an email, and I'm impressed with what they're doing.
They go around to different locations and pick those up, not every time, as the mayor said, but there is notice to us that if you have tires, you know where to take them and when.
And do they limit to a small size?
Residents only.
Now, that's how this program was too. What about any other Lake County, anybody else doing tires in your facility?
You can't buy a set of tires anymore without paying a recycling fee and leaving your old tires there.
Yeah. That's probably what's gonna have to happen.
That's right, you pay them, have them recycled or live in pay. Live in home. But that's where they go. You're paying them to have them recycled at least. You don't have to take them with you and throw them somewhere.
They'll do it for you.
Well, I don't know.
They'll do
I'm
recycling.
Thank you for that update, Mr. Tryon.
Thank you for your comments.
Ms. Candace?
We have 3 projects. The first one is a new one, and I was told to mention this, coordinating with Ms. Barloga and the town of Schererville to extend St. John Road to the north by Elzinga Farm. It not only helps with the traffic pattern in that area, but also is going to help us with our bike paths and getting through that. So we'd like to introduce that project The second one is extending Calumet Avenue to the south in Dyer, because it just is a bottleneck there all the time with the traffic, in addition to the 5 stop signs. And the other thing is to widen 77th. We need more lanes in there to help with the traffic. We have all the new homes going to the south and people get really frustrated. So we have 3 different projects for us to work on. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. Are there any other announcements?
I have an announcement from LaPorte County. So yesterday we were informed by the governor's office that LaPorte County has received almost $7 million in grant money from the Next Level Connection grant for a rural broadband fiber installation. So 3 companies, Comcast, Surf Broadband, and Mercury Wireless, worked with our county to really work on our infrastructure. We've done an engineering study into cover fiber to the premise on every property in LaPorte County. It's over $80 million. So this is a good chunk. It's almost $7 million. And what's the kind of unintended consequence of our rural broadband task force is that we've been putting let's say friendly pressure on our internet service providers, and many of them are stepping up and investing without any grant dollars. They're investing. So, for example, Surf Broadband is receiving $4.2 million of this grant award, but they've announced another $2 million of their own private investment that they're going to be making. So that's a $6.2 million investment from just one company. So it's really big news for us. As you know, we're a highly rural county. And for those of you that aren't ag focused, our farms need broadband connectivity. So in every home, every small business, every farm needs broadband. And if there's a silver lining to the pandemic, it's that we realize that every child needs access to the internet. So it was very sad in our county during the pandemic that we had families going to the local fast food restaurant or to the library parking lot to do their homework or to do their research. So we're taking a pretty aggressive approach, and this is really big news for our county. So thank you.
Excellent news. Any other announcements that anyone would like to share?
Sure. Just one more addition, I guess, addendum to the MS4 clean water discussion. Just be aware that non-compliance under the new permit could jeopardize federal funding as well as your access to the state revolving loan fund as well. So make sure everyone knows it's a big deal, so just make sure your community is in compliance.
Absolutely. Any other announcements? I just want to take a second to recognize Blair Milo, the former mayor of LaPorte, former secretary of Career Connections and Talent, and running for Congress. And I just, a lot of you might remember her for being the one who implemented exercises during our meetings, arm circles and stuff. You came a little bit late, we did do them. We've been doing them for years now. Right, everyone? Right? We've been doing that? Yes. So,
carrying the torch forward.
Yeah.
Continue to be proud.
Thank you for being here this morning. If there are no other announcements,